Hello, everybody. Hello. Hi. I would first like to thank Rajesh ji, who's not here, for his, nice, introduction of us, along with Inadi. In fact, we've just come in from Kuala Lumpur. Thanks to Inadi, we just had a couple of days back, yesterday, a session with the Bengal Chamber of Commerce and Industry, where we spoke about CSR. I would also, who says long distance, work doesn't take place? We've been working with Rusanji for the last 2 years, for basically the site has been improved. I would also like to thank another person of Kohana, my wife and my colleague, Inakshi, without whose help, I don't think, a lot of things would have taken place, apart from the conference. Because if it was not for Inakshi ji's help, I don't think even probably, the concept of CSR of the conference would have taken place. All the communication which has been happening between her and Rusanji, all has been done by her, not by me. The other thing is even about the book, it's partly done by her. But being the man, I always take the benefit, you see. So let's go on to the case study. We are going to have a case study which we're going to talk about what we had done, 2001 in Nagaland. It's a case study which is basically done in a very volatile situation. I think the gentleman from the Abhijit group would also relate how basically working in a volatile situation. We were in fact done a thing for a BIFR company, a 6 steel company, whose owner and workers, especially the workers, have sacrificed 50% of their wages in order to keep the company alive. A very interesting case study in a volatile zone. This basically is a case study as mentioned by Inakshi and myself, so she requires a lot of credit for this. Let's start with the introduction. CSR is expected to positively affect the firm's financial performance because it helps firms to gain socio-political legitimacy, which enables them to elicit positive stakeholders' response. The reason, in fact, when we were going into a new market, we had done this activity to gain basically, of course, financial performance, social performance, and the benefit from the government. This was an area in which, because of the volatile situation, both Tata Steel and SAIL withdrew. So it was extremely volatile. It is still volatile. Although it is difficult to directly model and measure social and political legitimacies, it is possible to identify some contingent factors that are thought to affect the extent to which firms may benefit from gaining these legitimacies. Stakeholders and CSR. As rightly mentioned, a number of companies which I even meet today say, stakeholders, should I ever deal with them? My strategy is good enough when I speak to the top management. Even recently, I spoke to a company which is a $1 billion company. I had the opportunity of meeting the top management. The same thing. Stakeholders, strategy, I can do it myself. I don't need to involve my stakeholders. Strange. A firm may take an instrumental or strategic approach, apart from maybe a moral approach, to its stakeholders to manage their impacts on their overall objectives and can build better relations with these primary stakeholders, as we will show in our case study. Through this case study, we propose that CSR can have an important influence on the firm's financial performance. The reason we say financial performance is because unless there is, you get benefit, most firms do not do it. Stakeholders and CSR. It has been noticed that stakeholders are quite often involuntarily involved in a firm's activities with respect to groups and individuals. The stakeholders are involuntarily impacted by corporate activities such as unwelcome cultural influence. A critical objective of strategic CSR should be directed towards reduction of harm and creation of benefit. As we will see in this case, because we were from the plains, from a different area, we were corporate, people thought we were unwelcome, because when you go into a different state, we have to also understand there are cultures and subcultures there. Activities carefully thought and crafted by the corporates to mitigate harm and build trust helps in continued operation of the corporation and remains acceptable to all parties, basically helping what is called license to operate. Wealth creation of the firm. A firm's primary task is to create wealth, and hence it looks for new avenues of market expansion and market penetration. It also depends on its intangible assets of knowledge and stakeholder relations that become most valuable to the firm, We could also use our core competencies, tacit knowledge, or causal ambiguity. Depending on the strategy, a firm can build fruitful and mutually benefit relations with these stakeholders and thus enhance social and financial performance. The case study, it was KR Steel Union, which is a BIFR company, which was basically into re-rolling. It wanted to go into Nagaland. The firm chose to build partnership with the stakeholders through CSR initiatives that helped to create and maintain trust, an important factor, which resulted in creating bottom line growth. This is about the company. It was in the BIFR. So I'll move to the next one. Basically a re-rolling mill, nothing very large. Getting license to operate in Nagaland. Although a spurge of advertisements and hoardings were not permissible because given the financial constraints and the political constraints, because if you advertise in that place, you'll be liable to be picked up and extorted. Extortion will take place, and you may not probably come back. KR Steel Union decided to engage in a face-to-face dialogue with its external stakeholders. Even though we had conducted a number of seminars, workshops, you had a number of people coming for it, everybody nodding their head and saying, very good product, very good company, everything very good. Nobody was willing to take the distributorship. So we said, what do we do? You reach a very critical situation as, what do I do in such a state? What did we do? We basically at that moment thought of getting into a cross partnership with an NGO, with an NGO called Classic Club, which consists of people both from the government and from civil society and from the tribes which were there. What did we do? We just took a traffic island. We adopted a traffic island. If you say adopting a traffic island here in Mumbai, you said, what's so great about it? I just do something in a traffic island, what's so great? But in Nagaland, when you adopt a traffic island, you come under the purview of the armed forces, the army, because you're on the Armed Forces Act, the intelligence, and the insurgent groups. It's a matter of seconds that they come to know who you are and probably find out the entire background of you. So it's a very, very critical thing when you do it, when you put up something there, you are liable to get into a lot of problems. When we spoke to the club, they said, we need to beautify Nagaland. We said, we are not a very rich company. We are a company who has got a good product. We have a company which cares for its employees. The employees are basically the people who decide for things taking place in the company. So we adopted this island. What happened? The garden was inaugurated with a press conference. We also had the Chief Minister of Nagaland who passes that traffic island with his convoy of probably 10 armed vehicles of probably maybe about 50 to 70 army soldiers who stopped there, got up from the vehicle and said, who is this company? I was asked by the people from All India Radio when you came there, said, what have you done? Do you know Mahatma Gandhi's statue was knocked down? So what are you doing? I said, no, our intention is basically to do something for the people in a very small way. The next month saw two influential businessmen accepting the distributorship. Two stockyards were opened in Kohima and Dimapur, and we were selling steel 2,000 rupees per ton higher than Tata Steel, which was quite premium. This is the inauguration of the island there. You can see my photograph, which I was slim and trim. This is what marriage does to you. You put on a couple of kilos. We shall use, in fact, a small model which is called the analysis of Porter's model here, just very simply, who says is the challenge is to find ways to surmount the entry barriers. So by adopting this island, we in fact removed these entry barriers. People had trust towards us. We built a relationship with them. It was not there that we were only there to take money from them or just do a transaction. We got into what is called a relationship agreement with these people. Stakeholder mapping. We had done a stakeholder mapping with the people of Nagaland. We use value congruence, a model called value congruence. It's crucial for stakeholders' relationship. Stakeholders are interested in associating with organizations with whom they can identify with and with whom they perceive a match in value. What we used is basically social identity theory, where people like to identify with an organization which has self-esteem, a good self-image, a good reputation. We also use social exchange theory, which is there. Social exchange theory is when people have the norms and reciprocate when they find they can identify with the company. So the reciprocation was, I will buy your product, I will take your distributorship, you are a good company. The stakeholder engagement led us to understand the social issues and empathize with the cultural aspects of the people in Nagaland. This empathy was converted into social action, which helped us build confidence and induce trust towards the company. We use one model here called the ADR model for stakeholder engagement, which is assessment of the situation. We had dialogue forums with them, stakeholder engagement with them, identification of the social issue. The issue at that moment was just the island because of the situation. Couldn't go beyond that. And act on crafting value, the values in which the company stood for, which was honesty, giving them a good product, and caring for its employees and the customer. I've already mentioned both the theories here. We go also to the framework creating trust, because trust is a very, very important factor when you are moving into a market. Perceived CSR led to what is called positive reputation because of the stories we had got up, our interaction with the people, with the dialogue with them. Yes, I will. Which is also a positive perception of stakeholders leading to trust. The stakeholders in Nagaland trusted a firm that manifested a definite and real commitment to societal action. Conclusion. The company, in fact, can gain trust of the stakeholders when they resolve the conflict between wealth creation of the firm and value creation of the stakeholders. This case study is, in fact, you can also read, in fact, if you Google my name, it's in fact there on the website. It is also in a couple of journals. This integration approach adopted us to ultimately lead to the success of the program and the bottom line growth of the company. Thank you very much.